Recording is on.
Nice. Well, nicely done. It's a great experience so far.
Well, Neil, do you want to kick it off?
Well, I kind of like the sound of your voice so much, Brian. I kind of want to hear what you have to say about it.
Oh, really? Okay. Yeah, well, I've been thinking just today, really, about definitions, and I guess it's a kind of a connected environment where we interact with each other, and I would include, if you look at sort of LinkedIn as a case study or an example, there's a kind of there's a public square or a public domain where you're interacting with everyone on the platform, whatever that platform is, and then you might have groups within that, and you would also have connections, and within the connections you might have professional connections, family connections, friends, different groups of people around different topics or communities, and then also some form of direct messaging. So I would see all of those things as being components of what we would consider a social media platform of some description. So those were my thoughts today when I was thinking about definitions.
And I love that. And I'll just add, when I looked up media, the main means of mass communication, broadcasting, publishing, and the internet, regarded collectively. So I'll just throw that into the mix.
Yeah, so people talk about mainstream media or the media being newspapers, television channels, radio stations, etc. So any form of broadcasting on a a one to many or a many to many basis, I guess, as well.
Is it also? Yeah.
Go ahead, Ago.
I was thinking, is it what we value the most when we enter social media? Is it also our purpose, the why? Is it to broadcast something onto many, or what exactly?
Well, it's to communicate with other people, and it might be for personal reasons, or it might be for commercial reasons, or it might be for reasons to do with a cause or something that you're interested in reaching out to other people about.
I think that's a great question, and I think it's because it depends on who you are and where you're coming from. Like, it's the easiest way to influence probably behavior is through social media.
My question would be like, is this definition that we are giving the definition how we see social media so far, or the social media that we want?
Yeah, I think it's for the moment how we see it. And that's why I ask, like, if we are going to create our own social media, let's imagine it, our manifestation, what is the purpose of it and how we want to lead it afterwards? And then through this, I think we would also look for the right solutions. So what would be the purpose? I think I value a lot that I can connect with so many like-minded people. Otherwise, I would not have this possibility. I would like to interact with you guys, but I'm not sure if in this massive way, like just broadcasting something and I think I value too much that like current connections like this one. I can meet you, I can talk to you guys, but I understand that texting something and everyone can respond in the time that it's the best for them, it's also valuable way of doing. I don't know. I have mixed feelings here, so please help me out, guys. How you see it? This new social media to look like. I think it's taking too much of our attention somehow when there are so many people and so many posts, so much content. How it should be selected. I know that probably AI will take a lot of it, but I'm not convinced that AI making everything for us, it's also the best. So I'm curious what you think, guys.
You know, the way I'm seeing it, new social media is kind of like already here somewhat. Because like if you're like looking at traditional social media, right, the bulk of the activity actually revolves around the stream, like news feeds, right? When you go like to the main page of like Facebook, you see like the stream. You go to like LinkedIn, you see the stream. Everything kind of revolves around the stream. And actually, like the stream when it like first got introduced was highly controversial, right? In fact, like everyone like on Facebook went on protest. That was I think like more than 10 years ago. And ever since that, like after that, like people like soon adopted like the stream as like the default method of like interacting with the people in your social network. However, like what we observed over the past like few years was that like different actors, state actors, private actors, with their own agendas started optimizing or kind of like compromising the stream of the individual and like swaying the opinions of the individuals to their point of view. And that doesn't really seem to be very healthy for society in general. And what I've observed over the past like 2 3 years, ever since like the pandemic, even before the pandemic, right? People like started like posting less on even in the statistics itself, like when it was like in the previous social network and amongst my friends who like runs various platforms. People, the statistics is people are moving away from like the stream and like moving into like really private clusters, like the cluster that you and I are part of on LinkedIn, or like the cluster that TrueSight DAOs, like the few clusters that TrueSight DAOs members are like kind of like interacting in. So yes, I would even say that yeah, the behavior has already transited. Right now, the way I see it is like let me just give you a quick story, right? The final like 6 months before I like left the previous company, I was like sent to represent the company and like speak to the Minister of Education in Taiwan, because we are talking about this country level deal, right? Where like the whole country's like students, teachers, and parents will start using our platform. That was like the original discussion. The first thing the minister asked when me and him sat down with him across the table from me was that, is this platform, does it have any Chinese association? That means like with the Chinese government. I was like, oh shit. I said no, but at the back of my head, I was like, I was thinking, well, let's just go back to the company and tell like the CEO that you know what, this deal is canned. Just forget about it. So you're like now you look at it from this other perspective, whereby before the public entities like see this like social networks as a play thing, right? But now they start seeing it as a form of like propaganda propagation. All right. And all our identity is kind of stuck on this, right? It's like look at what happened to like Trump, right? It's like he was like using like Twitter. I mean, it's like for good or for bad. People like or don't like what he says. But hey, just like after election itself, right? His account got canned. And imagine like this. It's like suddenly it's like your voice, your public voice got removed. It's like how dangerous is that, right? So I would like even say the whole Web3 like movement right now is like a movement away from like we know the state is coming in to control the web. How do we kind of like get out and kind of like still like maintain our own autonomy? That's like what it is. And if there's gonna be like a new form of social media, that social media needs to like suffice to this particular like requirement of me being able to have my voice without the ability for some like external like state entity to censor me. Yeah, that's what I want to add.
I love it. And I agree with you. I think we're doing the opposite of social media here. We're like we're going into our own private room here that we have together, and
Yes, yes.
it's really moving away from social media. So I don't anything that we're creating or connecting to, I don't really think is actually even would be a media really.
It's still a form of media, right? It's just like it's more private now. It's like more like small, like very targeted clusters. That's how I'm like starting to see it.
Well,
But
media, the main means of mass communication. That's what.
I see. I get your point of view.
but do
Yeah,
we
we kind
want
of
to make mass communication now?
I don't think so. Not in this context.
I
Yeah,
don't.
yeah.
it depends what we want to do, really.
Mm-hmm.
Yolanda, please.
I was just thinking about this philosopher that I really like. His name is
Mm-hmm.
Bio Ape, and he talks about making sanctuary, right? How to create these spaces that they are sacred to us at some level, and it's a place of refuge, like we can go there. I think the the social. I don't like, not even social. I don't like even media. Even, I mean, I don't like any of those, But I like the idea to create spaces that they are outside of these systems already structured for us, And because I think there's value there, is value to communicate in more directly, more hard. And we allow ourselves to make mistakes and be irreverent sometimes that probably we might be in order to defy the structures. So I like the idea of sanctuary. Yeah, that for me, like a sacred space.
I love it too. I love it too because maybe it's not, guys, about the numbers and how many people we reach. Like we were taught that no, you have to reach masses. Maybe not. Maybe it's important just to reach that one person that it's gonna, spread it, like pay it forward in the movie. You just reach, I don't know, 3 people. You may impact on them, and then they share it farther and farther, and that's how we create that impact.
Mm-hmm.
And even with this group, yes, of people, we are not here for masses, and we are collecting some thoughts, sharing. I think amazing shares are coming so far, and we can move it farther into action step by step, each of us creating different projects.
I mean, I wonder.
Yeah, but I love this sacred space. I feel like in the sacred space
Me
in a way,
too. I love that sacred space.
with amazing people here. Thank you, Yolanda.
Yeah, this will always be whenever whenever social media will be created, maybe now, maybe with Web3 and metaverse coming in, people will definitely have their special space, sacred space, where they will interact, like right now we are interacting for a particular thing. Then we people can interact for their own social media gatherings, or sitting in a living room of a particular person. With the current social media and what right now the users, where they're facing problem is like, the current social media was never meant for a good user experience. You take any example, be it Facebook or anybody, they are made in a way that how much more they can engage you on their platform, and while engaging you, how much ads they can show so that they can earn the revenue. So, they can get that relevant content.
Mhm.
The second thing that current social media is lacking, and the every user is having this problem, like, okay, our data is being shared without our knowing, right, to the advertisers, to the marketers. And that's why it is good and bad in both sense, because we bad in that sense because we don't know behind the curtains how our data is being used, and good in such a way that okay, if we are searching for dog food, in the and we don't get ad for cat food, right? So that's how. And now every company, like, be it, everybody want to be a pioneer in the social media when it comes to the metaverse and Web3 coming up. Even Facebook, Google, like everybody's trying hard, and still we don't know how it will shape, right? So your thoughts on it?
Yeah. My personal take on like metaverse. I think I kind of like posted it like in a bunch of like small groups like yesterday. Mentally, like my brain can't handle it. It's like every time I try to engage with it, like after 2 minutes, I just feel like throwing up. I
Yeah,
wonder if it's
no,
just me.
Mm.
actually, like 10 years back, we couldn't have imagined a generation who can stick to their phones for 10 hours. Right now, the guys watching playing PUBG and other games are doing that. But we as generation, when we were of that age, we couldn't even imagine that somebody can do that. So how these young people will behave to the metaverse of like social media when the metaverse comes in, and also it's like people have put in their R&D teams and analytics teams just to predict a pattern where a user can shift. So it's all too ambiguous and too vague to comment, right?
Mm.
Actually, speaking of like metaverse games, wait, someone wanted to say something.
Oh, I was just going to say, yeah, I think it's helpful to kind of frame, because the reason we're here talking about a new form of social media or a new social medium is because somehow the old system is broken, and we're implicitly aware of
Yes.
that. In terms of like what's wrong with it, it's the whole Web 2 choke point thing. It's the shadow banning. It's the fact that we're commoditized. It's the fact that
It's fake. It's fake.
it's fake, and we're being used and conditioned in all kinds of ways. And there's the whole thing about dopamine reactions being used against us to, and
Exactly.
and fake news
Exactly.
and the sensationalization of stories or whatever. It's kind of it's artificial and it's imposed upon us. And
Opinion formation for false, right?
so I guess these are all the things that we're looking to move away from in terms of regaining our sovereignty over the experience and taking all of the things that we feel are good and necessary and ditching the other things. I mean, I've been wondering, for example, with LinkedIn, if I wanted to leave LinkedIn, I don't know where I'd go, but the thing I would miss is all of the connections and the conversations that I've had with the other people, and I've kind of wondered whether or not even I mean, this is kind of, I haven't really figured this out in a technological way, so excuse me for that, but it's just the idea of, say, for example, if Neil and I exchange some kind of token which represents our mutual relationship, and that anywhere I go, we have that connection that we can, that I kind of have this data set of connections of people that I'm with, and maybe some of them have conditionality to do with business networks or friendships or certain groups or certain DAOs, that is totally decentralized and totally outside any social network, but somehow is able to plug into other areas in the same way that people are describing the metaverse, where you can take your identity and your digital assets from one environment to another. Perhaps you can also take your relationships with you.
It's a cool idea. I like that.
Yeah, perfect idea. Like it encompasses everything. Like we human beings, we need a social interaction. We need one or the other thing. Like even in the previous times when there was, like in the ancient times, we will lit smoke on the mountains to give some signal to communicate. So we humans, we can't live without a communication. And when that communication is streamlined, is generalized, and it's it's going on the way our heart wants it to be, not like the current web to social medias who are using us as commodities. And now the people are getting aware of what is happening to them, and like how this data and all this thing. So what he's saying is like totally like it's gonna be like that if one or the other person will make social media in that way, in which a group is actually, you are part of the group, and again you have a subset of your own where you are in your own confined space.
Yeah, and also I was thinking, I was listening and your responses, like that intense feedback about is fake, right? Which is fake. And yet I want to expand a little bit that concept, because we have contributed, we like it or not, in that fake, and in a way, it's a reflection that we need to look at it. Is fake in what aspects of ourselves we are being still fake, instead of pushing it away or moving away from it. How can we integrate that and really look deeply, because if we want to create a new kind of social media or ways of connecting or ways to listen to each other, fake is in the picture.
It's beautiful. And I yelled out fake. And when I heard myself yell out fake, I'm somebody who's, when you see it going on out there, it means it's going on in here. So for me, it's the game where it's the numbers, the social proof largely is fake. I mean, even if we just look at, because we're here in this Web3 context, NFTs, if you look at the top 2% of projects, or maybe 0.5% of projects now that had traction, a lot of them or all of them were buying followers and buying users in their Discord servers and in their Twitter accounts and all that stuff. And so it didn't have integrity. And so that's what I want. I want to create something. For me, integrity is like this t-shirt. If it has integrity, then I can use it, right? I can wear it. If it doesn't have integrity, then the shirt I can't wear it. So I'd like to create something that has integrity.
Actually, I was like, a few years ago, I came across this trend with like gaming, nothing related to metaverse. But what's been happening over the past few years is like all the game studios were increasingly investing more and more resources to creating more and more realistic world, like a 3D environment. For example, like Ghost Recon, all this like very high resolution, like high velocity computing kind of like engine to like render like real worlds. And along the way, somehow the special effects became more important than the actual storyline itself, to such an extent that this there was like this growing group of independent like game developers that says, okay, you know what, screw like the visuals, let's go back to basics again. And that was like the start of this new trend where you have like them creating games with like interface looking like those games that you would see in the mid 90s. Like the story is very rich, but what they did was they outright rejected like this uh, race to the bottom uh, battle to create the most realistic like experience and environment. This is like took a step back and just focus on the story, the content itself, right? So what I'm trying to say now is, well, we have like this social media, like Web 2.0, whatever it is. It's kind of like really focused on like driving up like performance, right? Driving up like a usage, driving up like weekly active, daily active, monthly active, and like the people with kind of like engage with like this particular form of experience is kind of like coming to the level of like threshold of being totally fatigued by it. So what will likely happen after this is like the folks will just like totally shift and do a roundabout and say, all right, we're kind of like done with like this whole like mass broadcasting phenomena where we like kind of like get all our content from like a few very like influential influencers online and just like go into like this private groups and just like have like one to one or like one to like small group kind of conversations like what we're having now.
I apologize, Gary. I was reading and listening at the same time because there's some comments going on in the live stream. But basically, we just to sum up what you said, that they were creating graphics. It became more about the graphics.
Yes, the technique and like they lost the soul itself.
Say that again. The technique.
It's like they focused so much on the technique itself and they lost sense of the soul. It's like, what does the game actually?
Soul.
Soul.
Oh,
Ooh,
back to the
soul.
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 So yeah,
Yes,
I like
exactly.
it.
You
the
said
soul.
exactly right, Gary. You said
The human
exactly right.
soul is
It's like
missing.
they killed the soul. They killed the soul of social media just to, throw ads in our face, make us commodities, and yeah, they definitely
As Lee
killed the soul.
mentioned here, by the way, can you hear me, guys? Now, sorry, I had some
Yes,
problems with my video, and now I hope I'm
yeah,
back.
We can
But
hear you.
I want to also I also was trying to check what is on the chat. It's a bit different than what we were doing previously. We didn't have chat, so Lee just brought that also like how the social media turned out, while probably the purpose of it and the mission, like that was set in the beginning by the creators of it, was totally different. I think we also should think about it. What should it, what is actually the purpose of it? We started off talking about it, and how to keep it this way, which also comes to the part of people who are jumping in, and we are either triggered, which happened, I believe, on current social media, with all these tactics and manipulations, programming, etc., all of these dopamine doses and so on. So how could we do it consciously to serve really the purpose, what we really want to achieve there as humans, conscious ones who are jumping in, or how we could create this kind of social media, how it would look like? We can definitely
So I think
connect.
I
Go
think
ahead,
to
go
go
ahead.
off of where we're going is we're sort of thinking of just a social media for the soul instead of a social media,
Yeah, I love
for like
it.
the small self. Yeah, so it's like a more connected, more aligned. So then we have to take away the metrics that are more about the ego, right? We have to somehow
Yeah.
prioritize, come up with a new metric system or a new, like how we're going to encourage behavior would have to be in a new way.
Which comes a little bit to the topic of sharing, yeah, like how I can share but in a meaningful way for others, how I can help others through what I'm posting, for example,
Mm-hmm.
and only focus on this, what is actually meaningful for them. I don't want to spam someone with, I don't know, maybe a photo of my face. Necessary, do they need to see me maybe constantly? Maybe it's something different, or maybe with this photo there is something, yeah, there can be some nice sharing. Maybe it should be a video where
hmm,
I'm talking to, and I don't know, just dropping some ideas, so
yeah.
you can move
No,
farther with this.
like one thing that I feel with the current social media being a mess is like it was devised initially to bring people closer. Okay, it did it in one sense, but at the same time, it distanted the individuals you were sitting next to, whom we are sitting next to, right? Everybody's busy with their phones. This was not like 20, 15 years ago. If we go to restaurant, we were there with the restaurant, we were there talking to the people whom we had meetings. And now just a single second, like just a blink of eyes, like if one person go and check out the menu, the other person is on phone within 10 seconds. So that distance is created, and now we have to bridge that gap, that when we are talking to the person sitting next to us, we are with that person, right? So your
Oh,
views on this, guys?
I totally agree.
Yeah, it's
yeah.
like it's
Applause.
like I kind of like felt it, right? It's like very, very deeply, It's like sometimes I get invited for like dinner and lunch, like lunch get together, and next thing you know, I sit down and everyone's like face is on the phone. I was like thinking, why are we even here having lunch together in the first place?
Exactly, that was what I was mentioning. I was like if you have to be on Facebook, then be at your Facebook. Why are you sitting next to me?
Yeah, there's like really no point for me to like really spend my precious like limited time on Earth sitting with you with your face in the phone.
Actually, uh, Yeah, true. And like there was one friend of mine who was like just 15 minutes away from me. I said, okay, let's meet. And he said, no, we will just Skype. I said,
Uh-huh.
I do Skype with people sitting in United States and 1,000 kilometers away. I don't do it with people sitting 15 minutes away.
Yeah.
And
So we
I just want to add that when I take time off of social media, so I have a message that I like to share because I believe it's like my soul coming through me. And
Yeah.
so, you know, when I turn my phone off for a few days at a time and I don't take it with me when I go out, I'm happier. As much as I love connecting
Actually,
this, and especially with you guys, right? But it's
Uh-huh.
just like when I delete those apps from my phone or I turn my phone off and I leave it, I feel free.
Yes,
Ah.
I agree, and I would
yes.
love to do the same. I sometimes I don't feel well doing it because I
Uh-huh.
see someone posting and tagging me. I want to answer them. Of course, I want to support whatever they are doing. You are doing, guys. There are many of you there. Um, but I would really love to cut off from this social media and not be distracted by my life. I would love to keep
Yeah,
connections with you, but maybe on the level
yes.
like we are doing right now. So that was why there was a proposal. It was after talking to Yolanda actually, and we were saying like, uh, maybe instead of all this posting and chatting, maybe let's spend it like 1 hour a week, or maybe 2 hours if we extend it, but actually talking together and having this value, like sharing it here and having nice interaction where everybody can speak and exchange, and then we are not
Yes.
offended by not responding to each other, because I value your time too, and I don't want to spam you. I don't want to feel like a spammer either. do you do you feel it
Exactly.
too, or
Yeah,
um,
exactly. You know what you're saying is totally making sense and it's totally relevant. Right now, what I feel is current social media of Web2, it's kind of sucks our energy if we are too much on it. And the social media that we want to create is something that empowers us, that gives us a good feeling when we are on that. When it's not totally bombarding us with this news, that news, with this not, what not, this, that. No, it should be a space where we can put ourselves in whenever we feel we want to have a sense of belongingness with our friends, with our close people, right?
meanwhile we have quite a couple of comments also about
Yeah.
Web3, that uh, it's going to this direction that it's more human, hopefully, and like there is not that much of mass communication, but more effective communication. That's what Jackie brought. If you want, Jackie, you can unmute yourself. I'm not sure if you're happy about recording or not. I would love to hear you too. Which actually brings me also a bit to the decentralization, because hi Jackie, hi my
Hello,
dear.
Jackie.
Hey,
I
Jackie.
Happy to
first
see
came
you.
on it. I saw like everyone's pictures, and I was like, "Oh, everyone's faces," but then everyone went back to their little letters. But that's okay. Yeah, you know what? I actually wanted to. Oh, there's Yolanda. Hello. Um, I wanted to comment on. I don't know who was speaking when they were saying that, going to a restaurant and everyone's like on the phone or whatever. And I think what that speaks to is, I went to the beach recently and I noticed there were a lot of people on Instagram. I could tell it was Instagram, and I could tell they were trying to make stories because they were playing the same music. It was looping over and over again. And I knew they were typing text, and I could just tell what they were doing. And it was interesting to me because I find a lot when I travel, I'll start to make a story and it will inevitably just start taking too long because I'm a graphic designer at heart. So I have to line up all the text, and usually I'll just trash it. I'll stop doing it and then it'll never get posted. But what it made me realize was people really want to be content creators. Like they want to take that time to edit and produce something and curate it. But it's actually not convenient to do that like on the run all the time. So I think Web3 will give us an opportunity to be more like innately creative. Like I think the apps will actually sort of build this into what they think we want to do with them. So that's my hope with that. I hope that content creation is just faster. And then also that we have more ways to like save our progress and go back to do everything in app. That's just my 2 satoshis for now.
Actually, Paulina sent me some article about a couple of new social media there. And as you mentioned, Jackie, all this posting, editing a video, how much time it takes, etc. I think one of them was about like you cannot edit. Like you make some short videos or photos of yourself and you post it as it is. It's meant to be for your, I don't know, close friends and not necessarily for public. I think you can choose it. However, there are no options of like Instagram or I don't know, TikTok, whatever. It takes a lot of time. Time is our energy. I'm thinking how we can limit that time on social media. And one of this would be probably this editing as creators, because that's what we are doing too. It's not only about scrolling all the content, which is also quite a lot of our attention.
Yeah,
so a couple of features to cut off.
And what about, I'm sorry, Jackie, go ahead.
No, you go ahead, Yolanda. That's fine.
It's fine for me too. Go ahead.
Oh, I was just gonna say, I don't know. I saw Twitter communities were popping up like last week. I just was invited in one, but I haven't gotten to dabble around too much. I didn't know if anyone had any feedback, if Twitter was doing anything interesting or novel.
Honestly, I deleted Twitter 2 weeks ago and I've never felt better. With love. I mean, I appreciated it for the moments that I was on there, but I just sort of don't want to know what's in everybody else's head like that. So, honestly, it's not.
I don't know. I feel that we have evolved, like there was a time that the only way that getting together, I'm coming back a little bit to the intention, of the group, and we getting together in real life, then COVID hit, and then first it was Zoom, and then COVID hit, and we deepened our connections in this kind of technology. And they were very meaningful groups and very horrible groups too. I think one side, we have developing our capacity to connect and with many other ways, right? Like we have the capacity to really feel and sense this group right now, like there's a clear intention of to wanting to understand, to wanting to create, and it is also this call from the soul that we also talk about it. And I think this call from the soul, it is like, how can we distill, right, the real intention when we get together or when we post? What about if we just post what is really, really meaningful? I feel that we still get up in post like, okay, this is what you need to do on LinkedIn. This is what you need. And we get caught in algorithms, and we get caught in, why don't we purposely trigger and defy the system? I think it's our power. I mean, AI obviously it is there and is telling you, you need to post on Tuesdays and Thursdays between 9:30 a.m. It depends on where you live in the world, right? What about if we defy that and we really post taking a risk of not being seen or not being heard just because it's a call from the soul? And I want to align myself with that better than the reality of AI that is there, and I understand, and that probably we will be able to change it. But if we are not really in alignment within, setting in what we really want to create, it gets lost again, whether in conversation or in the post that we got or supporting each other. But what are we really supporting? I think if we envision a social media with these characteristics, that is small in a way, that it has an impact outside of our group, and to trust in that, it will be much more revolutionary, I think, more than any other thing.
Thank you, Yolanda. It reminds me of the comment here from Lee, who was asking, like, how we could deliver the value really on social media, because we that's I believe also should be our focus. What value I'm bringing with post, or maybe some other way there, something new.
Actually, like the direction we're heading towards kind of like reminds me of like the stuff I read about in this like book, The Network State. And what it actually says is that most likely than not in the future, the social medias that we will be engaged with will be like single purpose social media. For example, if you kind of like join this group or like this social media, then like it actually has a very well defined purpose. Then every single interaction is like designed in such a way to kind of like direct the attention as well the efforts for like a very specific like social impact purpose. So like very commerce like so like it wouldn't be like okay I have like this stream where you have multiple different contexts like kind of like overlaying upon each other and like all of them like screaming for your attention. It's like more like hey I'm feeling very strongly about like this particular social impact purpose. I will engage more with this particular like group and like probably not as much with the other group. So all the less relevant like attention grabbing kind of content doesn't even exist at all in that particular like new user experience.
This is a bit of a tangent, perhaps, but I've just been thinking while I've been listening. I mean, could we define Wikipedia as a form of social media, where you have effectively, you know, some kind of crowdsourced bigger idea being put together by people coming together to create something that's way beyond the sum of its parts?
Actually, I would agree with you. Wikipedia is in fact a social media. Like even before that, right? Before like there was MySpace, Friendster, or like Facebook. If you look at the original social media, it was like GeoCities. Literally like web pages all linked up to each other, like each particular.
I don't hear you that well, Gary.
Oh,
Maybe microphone closer. I'm not
yeah,
sure.
yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Maybe. Can you hear me now? Oh,
Now better,
hello?
but try a bit more.
Okay, how about this? Can you hear me now? Hello?
You have some buzz, buzz, buzz in the background,
Yeah.
but
Okay. Let me just disconnect my because like I think what's happening is like my earphone is like
you have
running out of
aliens there, I suppose. Oh wow!
Can you hear me now?
Aliens
They
are
are
coming.
actually
Yeah,
saying
the
something.
yeah, the earphone was running out of like juice.
Oh
So
no!
I was like saying even before we had like before MySpace, Facebook, or Friendster, there was like GeoCities. It was in that regard like a social media. It's like every person like maintains like a set of pages that's like linked to other pages within like this city called like GeoCities. And those pages were like talking very specifically about areas that they were doing research or interest in. That was like the original behavior that was there in like Web 1.0, and that like behavior kind of like got disrupted in Web 2.0.
Yeah, that's interesting. Perhaps some of the answers are actually in the early sort of history of the internet, if we went back and looked.
And to add on to that, Brian, I think it was really interesting when the journalist for the New York Times, when he sold his article as an NFT, and that always kind of like spurred in my head, because I'm from a newspaper background, that even in the setting of a publisher, you're not necessarily going to have to work for these institutions, but we'll be able to source content in this very social way of just sort of trading tokens or purchasing them or using them in that way. And I love that you bring up Wikipedia as like a social media, because when you really do think of it, it's exactly that. So, and that's really what the communities are starting to do in Web3. It's like, we're all coming here to build together. So yeah, we are using media, like digital media, as the social means for doing that. So really, really good point there.
Yeah, amazing.
Nice.
I feel the same. This should be the purpose of media. as we were discussing at the beginning of by definition. And also I'm thinking, because Paulina all brought this part, like that we are going to be part of groups, etc. Maybe this is the centralization, the reflection of the centralization. There are more of small groups of people that are connected around some, I don't know, values, some purpose, whatever, but just smaller ones, and many of them, because we were thinking in Web 2 about centralizing everything, correct? About making everything global. And with this decentralization, maybe it's about more of local, small groups instead, and making it really valuable, all the connections, relations within them, like we are doing, for example, today. What you think, guys?
Yeah, exactly. What you're saying is totally right and making sense. And one thing to be added in that is that, like, current social medias, like, now if we are connected on, like even Facebook owns Instagram and WhatsApp, but still I can't WhatsApp an Instagram user. So it's all discrete. We have to be on a different platform. So maybe the next decentralized social media will be like one stop solution for all. Like if you post in on one at if you post at one end, then it's your choice in whichever network you want that to be posted. So that gap can be bridged, right, with the next gen of social media coming in.
And I think that's happening. I think like
Yeah.
Lens protocol, lens.xyz, it's the
Yes,
idea,
yes.
and I hadn't really thought of it like a social graph before. I'm still honestly wrapping my head around what that means. Gary, you might be able to help with what a social graph is, but the idea is that you publish, and then it's sort of like you own it in a way, and it goes out to the social media platforms that you want it to go out to on. um
Yes, social, like it was like, okay, it's your data. Like right now what social media sites are doing, it's taking cookies from our phones and then giving it to the marketing agencies, and we are getting nothing from it. But with the decentralization and web3 coming in, what will happen is we have that set of cookies and our own data repository on the blockchain or any other decentralized authority, and then it's our, like we have, like we can, it's our like we will say yes or no to whom we have to give and whom we don't have to give. And based on that advertisement that they are showing us currently, the advertising platform will be paying the person whose data they are using, which is not in the web 2 case, with like totally Facebook takes all that advertisement, everything, and we get nothing. And in that case we have a sense of ownership on the data, and we'll be earning a part of it. And more the data we are sharing, more the rewards they are going to give us. That's how like the plans of it shaping it are coming in.
I mean, also it can be anonymized as well, the data, in the sense that
mhm.
the advertiser doesn't actually have
Yes,
to know
actually
directly.
no.
Yeah,
Yes, right now they know us all. Like Google bots, Facebook bots, they know us all. Like where did shopping, where we went, everything. But then it, like we can hide our identity with Web3 coming in.
totally.
Would we have advertisement in our social media, on our social media?
Good question.
Well, that totally depends on us.
Yeah, so I'm because if we are the owners of our data, for example, we may of course sell it,
Exactly.
and probably the best is like free choice, so everyone can decide for it. But I'm earning if yes, I'm the owner of my data.
Yeah.
There was this
Yeah.
this question already by Lee. Lee, if you want to jump into the conversation, you are bringing a couple of good comments here. Feel free. If you don't want to talk, then I will just simply read it, or you guys also can have a look. Because Lee also brought up that maybe this next expression of social media will be uni compatible, but doesn't that look centralized again? Like we are going kind of, I'm not sure if I understand the question correctly. So, but maybe you guys can refer to it.
What does unique compatible mean, Lee?
Unique compatible. I think that's what you brought, like this Lance protocol, that it would unify all the social media.
Oh, got it.
And then doesn't it look really centralized again? We make it depend on one entity or one protocol.
Actually, I would debate against that. Look at this, like HTTP, right? The hypertext protocol. Yeah, we're all using it, but it's not centralized. Any application can utilize HTTP to deliver content. It's just the way we have to structure the whole architecture and the experience. That is what determines whether something is centralized or not.
Okay, so let's go to imagining this perfect social media for us, like how we would like it to look like. If I would be the one to start, just to give you some idea here, I would say that it's a place where I can find people who are like-minded across the globe. I love it because I see so many different perspectives. I would love to chat with them and have a possibility to also have some video with them, to meet them in one-to-one or in groups like this, to schedule some real life events, let's say. But I'm not sure if I would like to post so much. I don't think I would like to have pressure on posting and maybe share in these smaller groups something valuable that I found, something that I've learned. And I believe that could help them also with their projects or with their self-development, etc. So that's how I would see it. And please feel free to say how you imagine it.
I'm not sure I've got much to add to that, Arga, really. I mean, I think when I look at an environment like LinkedIn, I mean, let's face it, unless there was that kind of global, and I don't mean global in terms of the world, but just in terms of the environment, kind of communications platform, I wouldn't be here speaking to any of you today. So I think that's something I really value about the existing system. A lot of the other stuff, I mean, it seems to be a regular trope of people who've been successful cracking the LinkedIn code or whatever, is that you post at least one time a day and maybe 2 times a day, and you do this, that, and the other. And I just kind of, and someone else saying, I'm fed up with people just posting the latest story from Cointelegraph and not adding much value in terms of any commentary or anything. That comes from the pressure of people feeling like they have to post regularly, but not actually having anything meaningful to say, which came up earlier on. Someone else mentioned it, that, that really I only want to be posting when I feel I've got something valuable to say, rather than because I'm chasing some kind of illusory pot at the end of the rainbow. But everything else you said, I think, is bang on. And then, instant messaging, I guess, direct messaging, and maybe also ways of, accessing some generic tooling for doing things like creating DAOs or getting projects off the ground, or joining groups that will help to put you in front of people interested in financing projects, or exchanging value in terms of different skill sets, etc., etc.
Oh, I love it. I love it. That we could connect with different people who may also want to do projects. So we have this part of bringing more impact, more meaning to the world through this. I love it, Brian. Thank you. Thank you for bringing it. I see also Indra, I think, that she would love to have a totally honest social media. I think it's a lot about authenticity. Yes, so we don't have to be fake there, and we are ourselves, and we enjoy it. I think it's a lovely thought there. Anyone would like to follow, or Indra, you want to? Yeah, go ahead, darling. Sorry.
Yeah, it's for me the most problem topic, or what I have issues with the social media, is the honesty. You know, like people going there and using social media for manipulating and yeah, and of course to be fake. You know, like showing the world that in some topics their point of view is the right one, but it's a totally fake because they manipulate. So you maybe connect to them or buy the products, or I don't know. Yeah, that's for me. It's like social media, as you said in the beginning. It's all about fake, you know. And I would love to see that this will change.
Could we say that this social media should serve like some common goals and not necessarily our personal ones? Because I heard something about creating these projects together, and here, because when someone is manipulating, rather is doing it for its own gain and not necessarily for something bigger. That's coming
I
to
like
my mind.
that. I like that.
I
And
like that.
and we got close with NFTs. Like the idea was, there's a group of, like, we're all in this together, or there's a group of us, but it was still sort of exclusive, right? Because there was only 10,000 or whatever, 200 that we were selling. So the idea was like the group of us are in this together. So we go out and we influence the marketplace with hype, right? And create demand, which then we monetize and make money off. So it was like a step in the right direction, but it still wasn't. It still had this agenda attached to it, versus, like you said, maybe there's a larger agenda, like that we would surrender to surrender our personal stuff to, for the greater good somehow.
I love it personally. Go ahead, Gary.
Actually reminds me a lot of the way like the
Gary, you have aliens with you again.
oh sorry, let me just kill off the
Change. Tune yourself to the right frequency.
I'm an alien. Don't worry, Gary.
Yeah.
You're a
Can you hear me
ghost.
now? All right, yeah. So yeah, it actually reminds me of a lot the way the true side DAO like rubric and governance like models like structured, because like up front like we already defined, hey, this is the purpose, this is the problem in society that we feel very strongly about, and this what we want to tackle. And then like with that, like we can open it up, right? It's like we have this 1 billion plus tokens all sitting in the reserves, and then we set up a rubric and say, hey, these are the kind of actions we believe that if you perform on them, will help us tackle some parts of the problem. And then whenever you contribute, you get some tokens as a token of appreciation for your effort, right? It's in that regard, right? There's a lot of there's abundance instead of scarcity, because when you mint NFTs, there's only limited number, but if you can structure the whole thing in such a way that, hey, it's more token of appreciation, then everyone can literally get involved, right? Once they understand the purpose. Mm-hmm.
And if we go even beyond rewards, because we were talking about the gamification last time, I think it's a process. But when we think about 5D, let's say, and that we don't do things for rewards and unconditionally, then this social media probably wouldn't have any sort of rewards apart from the ones that we simply feel within.
Yeah, I totally feel that. One of the movement that I'm doing within me, it is completely get non-attached to the outcome. Like normally this is the problem that we want to do, this is the way we resolve it, and this will be the outcome. What if the outcome is nothing that we even imagine? And that for me is something interesting, because it kind of like leave us without ground underneath, in terms that it forces us to start constructing in a completely different way. So I like the idea first of a bigger purpose of individual and even the group. I think that is so important, because that would be what holds us together, and non-attachment to the outcome, definitely.
I love that too. I love the non-attachment to outcome. It's a little bit like a human condition though, to want an outcome. Like if we're a DAO, like Gary's DAO, there's an outcome there. Even this meeting here, even though it's probably the least agendaless meeting that we'll have all day, maybe, I don't know. We're still like sort of working towards solving for a meaningful network. But I'm with you. I think there's beauty.
Yeah, you're right. And yet maybe we can expand that, right? It is like, okay, we were sitting here to find a way of a new social media, and what if something else come up? Maybe it is
Well,
just like to discover what is that higher purpose that we have.
let's do that. Let's do that. So I'll just give a quick story to give an example. I once took a self-leadership course. It was a project I was building where I decided to write a children's book. Okay. And in the writing of this children's book, I wanted to co-write it with my daughter. My daughter was young at the time. I don't know, like 5 years old. She's 10 now. And what I discovered about myself in the process of writing this book with my daughter is that it wasn't about writing a book for kids. It wasn't even about writing a book with my daughter. It was about spending meaningful time with my daughter. And from there, from there, I decided I wanted to create a life where I was sharing in my daughter's life and she was sharing in my life. But it was under the guise of this idea that I was going to write a book or
Exactly. It is there
yeah.
something that is taking you to place when you are unattached to the outcome. It takes kind of like there are forces that taking you to places that are much more creative or much more meaningful. It is okay to have an initial North Star, let's say, but then like be open to maybe what it wants to be born in this moment is something different, and just and stay open to that as well.
Yeah, I think I don't feel like attached here to the outcome. I'm not sure if every time we will find the right answers, but I'm enjoying a lot just this conversation. And each time is leading us some different ways. Sometimes we end up in a different place that we started. No agenda here on my side, guys. I have nothing. I'm just writing now because Marta is not here, but actually we're recording. And actually I saw the beauty. I'm a person who loves to plan and loves to take notes before jumping into something. And this is also a new experience for me with you guys, that I'm just going with the flow and wherever it takes us. And I see, oh my God, it's working amazingly so far. So if we have this
also included, Aga, is also to include that the necessity also maybe of a framework, like it is okay to have them, because otherwise
like
this
something
conversation won't
general.
take it. But that doesn't mean that we cannot create other frameworks while we are doing it, and it's perfect too. And probably you will be the best one to do it. I am not, for sure.
We'll see. Like, I think it's good to give some just like topic for us. We'll see. What's the outcome. I love it what we have so far, because maybe in the end we can create some sort of social media, and I don't know. Well, maybe if we talk about it more, apparently we have all the resources that we need.
I don't think that's what's going on here. I think what's going on here, first of all, I apologize for not having my camera on today. I'm playing the Broken Toe song, but I really enjoyed seeing the people's faces who did log on. So that's something that a benefit that I got here was extra connection from this meeting that we organized today. And so I'm getting to know everybody a little bit more because I'm getting to see you more and hear you more, and you're all reflecting something back to me. So I'm getting a lot of benefit from this meeting. I don't know that we're actually here to build a new social media. Probably, I mean, unless somebody else thinks we are, please jump in and tell me.
Oh, well, no, I'm just referring to what you were saying for so far, that you would really love to have something like this. I know that there are a couple of people simply thinking about it, so I have no idea what's coming out of it. I think recently we had with Gary some conversation, like last Wednesday, but Gary, you jumped in like last minute, and we were talking about, it was meeting for students.
Yes.
And we came up with the idea, oh, what about creating a DAO out of like many DAOs, like connecting them? And well, you never know. But we can, guys, I'm not sure, we can jump in back to our topic of social media in general, and not to this particular project. And I see Lee again commenting here. Do we want a social media that more closely simulates human contacts, one that can be implemented through Web3? If so, then how do we invent a social media that is set apart from the technocrats in terms of data, as the centralized entity that gives the experience of an all encompassing marketing free social media, a more human one, Web3's expression of social media? We might have to create unifying apparatus that delivers that. Doesn't that look centralized? I think, Gary, you were already talking about it.
Yeah, actually, the way I would see it, eventually, the data probably just get written onto the blockchain, which is kind of like really owned by nobody. Maybe you like apply some encryption so that unless you give permission, no one can actually like see the content you created. And meanwhile, like well, you can like feel free to like jump on board like one of those like new like Web3 applications like that gets like created, and just connect your wallet, and all your data is going to be there, and like all the past conversations is there, and maybe like you and your friend can like communicate through that new application that allows you like some new like way of communicating. And meanwhile, you can just like disconnect your wallet and just move somewhere else. So that app literally has no control, no ownership of your data, whatever. So it doesn't really have to be like just one single app, right? It's like in that sense, it's like really free flowing at that point. Yeah, actually, back to the whole like thing about purpose and agenda. The past like 10 minutes like conversation kind of reminds me of the activity I've been engaged with over the past like 4 or 5 days. Up here in like northern Minnesota, most of the places has literally zero reception, whatever. So, and most of the time it's just like spent sitting by the lake and fishing, right? And fishing is literally an excuse. It's literally just to sit by the lake and do nothing.
Yeah. It's
Yeah.
a permission slip for sure. It's a permission slip. So what are we using social media as a permission slip for? I think we're doing it right now. This is the permission slip. Everybody here wants to be here.
We just come together and get connected, isn't it? To share our thoughts, to like hear new thoughts. It's like literally what's happening. And actually, from my perspective, it's refreshing.
Yeah,
I agree.
the soul again, right? Because I feel that as a call from the soul, that what is meaningful, what is important, what it stands, the movement of life in itself, or even new development, or even evolution. There's a constant there that feels how important it is human connection, and how we build upon each other's thoughts and ideas and worldviews.
Actually, yeah. To build a real connection, like relation with someone, it takes time. And we were taught so far that everything has to happen super fast. We're impatient to build these relations. And I think that's why these relations are a little bit like, okay, I'm gonna post something and through reactions, I will see who likes me and who doesn't. I don't know. I'm just laughing at this, but not too many people have maybe time and patience to really build something meaningful in terms of with another person or people. How they can then build some bigger projects which are based on the community, because everybody is talking about it. They know that in Web3, community is the most important one. So how can we really make it without first turning into our relations, how we talk to people, how we build relationships? Just a thought now.
What I'm hearing you say is go deeper instead of going wider. It's more about going deeper, which maybe takes more time and intention.
Well, yeah, quality over quantity, I would say.
Yeah.
You can have great, as we were talking at the very, very beginning, maybe you make impact to 3 people, but make it well, instead of reaching the masses, the global, and like, oh yeah, how many numbers I will have there, and how many thousands of people follow me, or how many likes I have. It doesn't mean anything. For me, at least, I prefer to have just a couple of people around me and this meaningful, really, relations. And I have a sense that I can do a lot with just a couple of people, because we have similar mindset and we all want to change something, even though we are different, but it's so much more meaningful.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I wanted to ask Yolanda, because she brought up about sort of personal responsibility in terms of us taking some responsibility for the toxicity of the environment, and certainly I associate kind of Facebook and platforms like that with people pretending what their life is like, like taking pictures of them in front of Lamborghinis and at weddings every weekend and living their best life and all the rest of it. And there seems to be a kind of a cultural move towards narcissism that underpins that. And I'm just wondering whether Yolanda feels that that's a function of the environment, or if it's just something that's being brought out that's part of human nature, or a bit of both, in terms of like thinking about what are the functions that we're trying to what are the good bits of the existing social media and what are the bad bits, and what's our role within that framework?
I don't know if I have an answer to that, but I try to look at I do my best in trying to look at what if it's still what if it, I always bring this question, like what if instead of a dysfunction, it is a function of the system? What if that is the part of the process that, as Aga was saying, it takes time. It takes time to distill the real connections that we want to make. The how do we express each other in larger communities that they are so new, and they're like in a way we have been funneled directly to get that. What if this is just part of the process, and it is not good or bad. It is what it is. And I think it is very valuable what we're doing here, at least questioning all of these, at least to find it, how can we include it, instead of moving away from it and having emotional answers, because I have them many, many times. I'm not participating in Facebook, and many programs that I have registered, for instance, had Facebook as a core of their connection, and I don't relate whatsoever. And still, I think it is a function of the system. There is something that is telling me. There is something that is forcing me to, as Neil was saying, to go deeper instead of wider. But if we wouldn't have had something like Facebook, probably we will not be here discussing this, you know? That's how I tend to see it, you know, like I don't feel we'll ever have a function. We are just, I mean, an answer to that. I feel that we are part of this larger process, and we are just, in a way, transgressing that because it's part of the system as well, you know? So that's it. For me, I'm always a little bit worried, like the solutions that we bring, if those solutions are part of the current system that is designed for us to respond this way. And I know it's a little bit heady, but that's how I feel it, you know, like I I really want to question myself constantly in these kind of issues, you know, like knowing that that I don't have an answer for you.
Thank you. I love that
Actually,
answer.
that was a good point, Yolanda. Like what you just brought up actually like reminded me of this insight I had like when I was like sitting by the lake the other day. A lot of the problems that we are experiencing today are the result of solutions that were built to tackle yesterday's problem, but scaled out at a large like scale.
Exactly.
So yeah,
And
so
those solutions are part of the same system, you know,
yes,
operating in other ways, but it's part
yeah.
of the system.
So in that regard, it actually like brings humility, right? Because you know, it's like, all right, we have this set of like problems, big problem. We'll come up with like a set of solutions to tackle this problem. But I'm sure at the back of my head, right, once like this solution gets like rolled out and this problem goes away, we'll probably end up creating a new set of problems. Yeah, that's kind of like the insight I had after like thinking through like the whole process.
I agree. I mean, the problem is there is no problem comes to mind.
Yeah, I was like talking to like one of my friends, like a DAO member the other day, Fatima. I was like saying, you know, a problem doesn't exist in the environment, right? The environment, nature accepts everything. The problem only exists in your head. If you see something as a problem, then it becomes a problem. But if you like see something as just a phenomena, like a cloud passing through the sky, then it's just a cloud passing through the sky. It never registers in the head as a problem.
But what we can say though is that community is asking for some things. Like our community right here is asking for a more authentic expression, something where we don't feel like we are one of the chess pieces on the board. Like we're clearly there's an asking here, so it's okay to explore, you know, what the answers could be to that asking.
That's true as well. So basically, what we are trying to do now is to figure out, we actually identify like this problem that we have. It's like the tools we are using right now is not really allowing or helping us like make the kind of connections that we really desire deep down. So can we like at least come up with some form of like solution to allow us to address that problem?
I'm gonna offer something here. Perhaps part of the solution could be that, you know, while we are all in different parts of the world here on this call, maybe what we really are seeking or potentially yearning for is to be in the same space as other people who have a similar mindset. What do you guys think? Is that anywhere in your list of things that matter to you?
Yeah, which comes to that group's idea that we connect around the same values or purposes. Gary? Sorry.
Yes, and then I think you and me were like had this like discussion, right, whereby you're like thinking of kind of like maybe having like a space, actual physical space set up that like different members could just like pop by and just hang out.
Mm.
It actually was one of the things that was brought up when I was like plowing through that book that like mentioned like the network state, and it's just like fascinating. Like a lot of like the stuff, the recurring themes I'm like seeing like coming from like different aspects, different parts of the environment I'm kind of like in right now. There's like a lot of synchronicity like happening right now.
I'm thinking, guys, because we are talking about all the reasons why we would, for example, have this social media. And I don't see anywhere like this information really that much of the purpose, like that was like medium that we were discussing at the very beginning, that definition of it. I think Brian brought the best example that it should be rather like Wikipedia, where everyone who wants to contribute to informing can drop something. Otherwise, everything around it is it's more like communicator or something that connects us, but it's not necessary about posting that much and informing everyone. Do you have also the same impression that it's a little bit maybe different naming should be there? That it's not social media but something else?
For sure. I completely agree. I don't think it's social media at all.
Yeah, actually, the more I think about it, right, I was like taking all the inputs I like received just now. Assuming there's a DAO and there's actually no tokenomics, and then like one way for like meaning to like deepen is like to have a shared history, right? And well, if we actually want to have a shared history, then what it ends up happening then is like, well, maybe what will more likely happen is that we'll end up maintaining like a wiki collectively, because that's where like the shared history is stored, isn't it?
Say
What do
that
you mean
last
by
part
this
again.
shared history?
Of like a group, right? Like a group of people coming together, and then like we come together with this common purpose. Okay, and then like okay,
Yeah.
because of this common purpose, we have like start developing a common
Yeah.
shared history, and because of that, well, the byproduct of like this set of activities would be kind of like a wiki-like structure. And we like look back at like the historical societies, right? For example, uh, the Bible, for example, or like even the I would say like the Tao Te Ching. There's like really no single author, right? It's like a whole bunch of like people collectively contributing to this manuscript that eventually get compiled at this like as this like doctrine that's uh like a ground is like the cornerstone of like a culture. That's kind of like what was already happening. And then like okay, if we kind of like think, all right, this group, we come together, we have a purpose, then eventually what might naturally like evolve out of this would be like a collective like literature of sort, like in the case like since it's like online, like a collective wiki that like manifest kind of like evolve out of like all our activities.
But I really like this idea. I mean, I don't have anything to add at this stage, but it certainly rings a few bells for me, definitely.
Because like when I was like reading reading through like the write-ups of Zhuangzi, which is like another like doctrine, not doctrine, is like a historical text, right? That was like written around the same period, like Lao Tzu's like Tao Te Ching. There's like no single author. It was like during like different times, people, different authors would kind of like write some stuff, and like the population as a whole feel that okay, that was like good contribution, and it made it into part of the chapters in there. So it's just collectively compiled, and eventually you have like something like a historical work of art that later generations could reference. It's like and like later generations like oh, that's like historical wisdom, right? Yeah, that's kind of like how it that's how it kind of like naturally evolved to become.
I
Yeah,
like it.
is
Go
what
ahead.
I sorry, Aga, is what I was telling you when I asked you the other day that I was so sick and I asked you, did you record it, right? And it is not a recorded for a mass public or audience to listen to it, but it's to create our own history, like in what ways we are contributing, even with this conversation to a larger whole.
Like actually like a very like poignant example is like the US Declaration of Independence, right? Back in the days like before when they kind of like decided okay, we're gonna go do a civil war, and like a group of ghost guys came together like in this place and like drafted up, like spent time like wording and drafting like the Declaration of Independence, and once like everyone felt okay, this was right, and then from there like a whole new country was formed.
Thank you.
We could form our country in the metaverse, I guess.
It might actually happen. Who knows?
Anything can happen. That's right.
Yeah, I'm not convinced to recording everything. I don't know if you saw one of the episodes, I think, of Black Mirror, and the solutions that are coming, and like everything would be recorded, whatever we are watching, whoever with we are interacting, and you can see it afterwards. I don't think I would be for something like this, but if we all agree, yeah, let's record it and let's have some memories of it and enjoy it afterwards. Sometimes there are so many great inspirations that you want to go back to it, and I love it too. However, I also like the idea to bin the now.
I mean, maybe
So-
a wiki could be. It wouldn't have to be completely public domain, would it? I mean, if
Yeah.
you know, just and it, for example, if we were to decide to do something collaboratively to have an environment which included posts, conversations, bookmarks, links, the minutes of meetings that we had that we wanted to follow up on, and then also media that we wanted to publish more broadly could be decided upon, but a kind of an environment where we were, you know, I guess it's a different form of social media, isn't it? It's one that we're making the decisions about how to publish and to whom.
Yes. Or maybe not even like to publish, right? Just like a common history that like new members who eventually join is like, okay, where's like the state in which this group I'm new to is at? And they can just go and read the history. It's like, oh, okay. And then like back to the point of like recording everything, you know, we kind of tried this in like True Side DAO, and then like what I observed was that it's like you kind of like trying to get people to like read through all the raw logs. It's a very time consuming. It's like, so rather than like kind of like publishing everything, I would like almost like say what are the key insights that came out of this like day's meeting, right? Or like this like kind of discussion that, whoa, it's like a nugget of insight that we should like really like keep, because like it's definitely like valuable and precious. Yeah, like I would even say, yeah, back to like let's use like the Declaration of Independence. I doubt like, you know, it's like now when we like look at it, we just like look at that one page like declaration, but all the back and forth, all the conversations, all the side conversations that went on when they were like drafting that, none of them made it like into the documentation. It was only that one single page that got passed down through the generations. And like the wiki, from my perspective, would like serve like very nicely for this purpose. It's like a recording of a common history that is meaningful and at the same time insightful, that like really helps you connect very quickly to the group that you're like becoming part of.
I like that.
Yeah, I like to focus on something like get the essence out of it and share it with others. I don't think necessarily everyone has to spend, I don't know, a couple of hours when someone is working on some project. Maybe it's better just to give the essence of it, like this manifesto you read, yeah, but of any project basically, and then someone gets the most important parts of it, while probably the discussion was way wider behind the scenes.
I watched something the other day, an AI that's capable of doing that, of actually scrutinizing a document and pulling out the main points. It was in relation to
Oh, great.
a system of interrogating reviews, like for a brand that was looking about like reviews that had been left for one of their products or something. I can't remember whether it was Amazon or whatever, but the AI was able to say, okay, this particular review is largely positive, and here are the three main points that they brought up, and it was bulleted. So it stopped. It meant that someone didn't have to go through and read it in person, but they were able to get you know, a TLDR on it.
Actually, one of my friends told me, who's also in Web3 marketing, that yeah, AI is taking notes for him and afterwards preparing minutes or some. I'm not sure if he mentioned also the strategy, but he mentioned that he's preparing strategies for projects with this AI collaboration, let's say, talking to it, and then it's putting everything together. Interesting.
Yeah, man, we're not in Kansas anymore.
Yeah.
Oh,
Definitely
gosh.
open to like experimenting with that. I'm curious.
Yeah, but then I was talking about it recently with someone. I'm not sure if it wasn't you, Yolanda, that if social media would go the same direction as it is right now, and then AI is taking over us posting, liking, answering, there's gonna be like only AI interacting with each other, and where are we in this? And then I think the answer would be in this other, not social media, this communicator where we actually interact with each other and where we can meet one-to-one, etc. Just an idea here, because we know that AI is jumping in. How do you feel, guys?
I like the idea of AI running my social media, and then we can just go down the pub and meet in person.
Well, and it's already happening to some degree. Like the marketers in the room or in the LinkedIn, they're already using various kinds of AI to spread their message further and interact. So that's what I mean when I said fake earlier, is that there's a whole the internet is dead theory, which clearly it's not, because we're all here together and we're all alive and well. But the idea is that we need to create some more meaning, and not spend our time doing activities that mean nothing to us, I think.
Yeah. It's funny that you brought this up. No, I kind of like did the reverse with this AI I train. I know there's like a lot of news out there, and like didn't really want to waste my time like reading through all the news articles just to get at the gist of it. So what ended up happening, I kind of like built this engine to pull in all the news headlines from all 400 plus like news portals around the world every hour, and just summarize it and say, okay, I could just go in to the dashboard and say, hey, what's the most important topic that almost like every single reporter in the world is writing about, and just like quickly get a glance. It's like, okay, that's what it is. So like marketeers might like spend a lot of time gaming the system. Then you have like this other set of AIs that just summarizes everything and cuts out all the noise and gives you the actual signal.
Well, then you put on top of it like what Neuralink is doing, or other companies like this. You are connected with this AI. It's choosing whatever you want to see and like downloading for you whatever. That's gonna come crazy.
So
we can have AI asking us if we are human, so
oh
actually,
gosh.
the other day I was like having this discussion with a friend. It's like, well, if the AI can like really do everything, right, then what's the difference between a human being and AI? It was like, what's the purpose of like being human? What's the meaning of it? Yeah.
I heard one answer for it, that we humans can reprogram ourselves, why AI cannot.
That
you
one
need to first realize that we are programmed, of course, and then we can change our belief system, whatever we are doing, etc. But AI apparently cannot do it.
Here's the fascinating thing, right? It's like if you kind of examine the Go game between the Korean like world champion and like I think Deep Alpha, it actually like changed its mind like in one of the games, and like totally like messed up the mind of like the human like competitor. So in that regard, it's like I would even say like AI is like, depending on how it's like trained and structured, it is like even like better at changing its mind.
Yeah, didn't it play some moves that no one had ever seen before, and it just looked
like
ridiculous on paper and
ridiculous on paper, but absolutely correct. I was like,
yeah,
oh my god,
yeah,
zero attachment to like kind of like whatever like it's sunk cost. Like what really like prevents us from like changing our mind a lot of times is because of this like sunk cost policy that we subscribe to.
Okay, guys, sorry, but my computer will be dead in a few minutes, and I'm not sure if it's gonna, collapse this whole space. So we were discussing today this social media. We turn a bit into AI. Maybe that's something that we can discuss with the next meeting or another one. I propose. I would also drop you some link to maybe Discord, so we can also organize better like inspirations that we want to drop, or also if some of you want to help with this Communivate or some other projects are coming that we want to share and discuss as a separate thing, then we can organize it there as well. And what I got here from this conversation, that we would love to see social media as connecting us, giving us a possibility, like not social media actually. So maybe next time, like let's brainstorm a bit how we could call this thing, this tool for connecting us, for making interactions with video calls, and connecting us across the globe for something meaningful, to create some impact through some projects, DAOs, and showing authentic and honest us. Does it sound good for
Yes.
a manifesting part?
Yes.
And let's think about some good name for it that is not used yet, because I don't like communicator either. Maybe something else that we can all figure out here. Some little names.
How about like social fabric? Like social fabric.
Okay, I will drop it maybe on Discord, another channel for some funny names for our new creation.
I've got a joke one, which is anti-social media, but perhaps that's not you want to be pushing.
Thank you guys so much for this pleasant conversation.
Thank you. Bless you.
Let's see each other next week. And then I will also let you know when maybe, or we make some poll when we can meet for some other activities as well. Side of it. Thank you so much.
In the metaverse, metaverse activities, metaverse meetings.
Actually, this is
I'm
a
not
metaverse
convinced,
meeting.
but we can try it too, guys.
I want to show you guys my avatar dancing, I guess. I don't know.
Oh no. You have the equipment already?
Yeah.
Oh, great.
Got everything I need. Okay. Love and light, everybody.
Love and light. Bye. Thank you. Have a nice day, evening.
Bye-bye.
Night. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Peace.
I know we were supposed to laugh.
Oh.
Let's laugh at the big hand. We forgot about it. Okay. Bye-bye.
See you guys.
See ya.